in this video, I want to talk about one of the example of SAT math problem. And this is about second example of simplifying the rational example advanced one. And the question is, which is equivalent with the following expression? 5 over x squared plus 6x plus 5, all of that plus 7 over x plus 3 times x plus 1. And if you look at the questions, they are a fractions and their both numerators are formed as a natural numbers, and one of the denominators is formed as a quadratic, another one is formed by a binomial. And I want to review a same patterns for this solution, and I want to review it. It is made with big step two steps. The first step, we need to use a fraction, which means we need to have a reduction to simplify, unless it is multiplication or division. In the step 2, leave all these single terms, and then for quadratic, make it into binomial. The reason is because we need to have a reduction, which means we need to simplify those. In order to simplify, we need to make it into binomial to compare with the other terms in order to find the common or not common one to make a common denominators. So after we saw that the biggest exponent in this equation is 2, which means it is a quadratic equation, we can convert it into, we can factor it out into binomial. So x squared plus 6x plus 5, according to a binomial theorem, the coefficient of the x squared is 1, so we'll just write x times x. And for these two numbers, if we add them together, we will get 6x. If we multiply together, we will get 5, which means we need to find some factors of 5, which was just going to be 1 times 5. And it does satisfy this equation. If we multiply, it gets us 5. If we add it, we get 6. So we can write it down. And we finish factoring out, and we can replace it instead of a quadratic one. 5 over x squared. So let me write this down again. 5 over x squared plus 6x plus 5. Instead of this, we can replace it into a binomial one, which we're going to be equal to x plus 1 times x plus 5. Plus, we will bring this term right over here, 7 over x plus 3 times x plus 1. And we can apply the fraction property in this case, which means we need to multiply every single terms together in order to make a common denominator, except for a common one. So we can see that x plus 1 is a common. So other than that, we can multiply together. So I'll write it down. 5 over x plus 1 times x plus 5 times x plus 3. That was the whole point why we made it into quadratic to binomial. But since we multiplied x plus 3 in the denominator, we also need to multiply x plus 3 in the numerator to keep a equal fraction. Plus 7 over, same thing, x plus 1 times x plus 5 times x plus 3. But since we multiplied x plus 5 in the denominator, we also need to multiply x plus 5 in the numerator. Now we can cancel these denominators and we can write it only one time because they share a common one. X plus 1 times x plus 5 times x plus 3. And in the numerator, it will going to be equal to, I'll just write this down, 5 times x plus 3 plus 7 times x plus 5. Now we can just use distribute property in order to cancel out this parenthesis. But if you look at our choices at first, we can know that number 3 is our solution for this question. And in the future video, I want to talk about more examples of simplifying the rational expressions using this solution. Step 1 is to simplify, which means we need to have a reduction if we say fractions. And in the step 2, we need to convert quadratic into a binomial.